January 3rd, 2022. You're listening to Oblast with Don and Kevin. I'm Kevin.
And I am Don.
So Don, I think I'll start with you. So, last week, I talked a little bit about my COVID story.
Yeah, yeah.
And, what's funny, I was listening to the podcast a week before where I was talking like, I think I got my booster. And then I was just like talking like, trying not to get COVID. And then the next week I got COVID, right?
Right.
And then you were hearing my story. And now tell us your story.
I decided to follow suit because whatever Kevin Barrett can do, I can do better. So it turns out that I went ahead and got myself some COVID. And I figured, I'd be one of the cool kids. So
your girlfriend had it, and you needed to get a test. You told me that story, right? So
yeah, that's where I was. That was last Monday where I was like, she got it, and I had to go. Yeah, I had to go out to East Lake to get it.
Right, because because it's just crazy right now. Like, there's no tests in Cuyahoga County, and
now there is.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Because people were testing before the holiday, to get together.
The Christmas thing.
Even though that doesn't tell you shit if you're contagious or not.
Yeah, right.
People were trying to do something to be safe. I don't know if it worked out.
Right.
So you got, but initially when you got your test, the result was negative, right?
Right. That was the Thursday before last Monday. Before we did the talk.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you were in the clear, and then what made you decide to take another test?
Well, last Monday, like when I was here last Monday, I had some, I think I told you.
Yeah.
I had like nasal pressure, like that sickness, taste, smell that you get where you're just like, oh, I smell like sick. I smell like a cold, or you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. But let me ask you something about that nasal congestion, because I believe I had COVID, but I never, I've taken 2 tests and they were both timed odd, right? So the last test I took, I was over it already, so that came out negative. And then the first test was maybe I wasn't far enough in, but whatever. Either way, so I'm always trying to wonder. Now, when I had that pressure in my head, that congestion, my nose wasn't stuffed up. Like my nose was running a little bit here and there, like occasionally, but my nose wasn't stuffed. Was that the same with you?
Yeah, because I was like, because that's why I didn't think nothing of it. That Monday night, I was like, okay, it feels like I've got stuff in my nose,
right?
But both my nostrils were clear. It was just I could breathe through both of them, and I was like, well, that's just weird.
Right. Right. That's what I thought.
And I thought because the room I sleep in is right next, it gets really warm and dry in this room because I'm like right next to the dryer, the washing machine, like the furnace. I got like all these hot things around me. So this room's always like warm and dry.
Right.
And I thought that's what it was. I was just like, oh, that's all it is. It's, because that happens I know what you mean. I just wake up and I'll be like, ugh, why do I feel like this?
Same thing. Had there not been a COVID thing going on, I would have thought what I had was, other than maybe some of that pressure was a little weird, I would have thought the sore throat and the sinus was just winter stuff. You know what I mean? Right. Like in and out, warm, cold. It was nothing. Yeah.
Right. That's why like last Monday I was like, you know what, it's nothing. I'll just wait till tomorrow and see what happens. Once I go to sleep, I got the humidifier out and I put that in the room, and I was like, okay, I'll get some moisture in the air and I'll go to sleep and wake up and see what it's like. It was the exact same thing in the morning. I was just like, oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
And we had a test here. We had the extra test from when I got him the week before.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? I just might as well take it. I might as well, because I got to know.
Yeah.
Because Christmas.
Right.
Oh, no, it was just after Christmas. This is just after.
Yeah. But I mean, your mom and everything. I mean, you got to.
Right.
Sure.
Right. I was like, I got to make sure I'm good. And I took it. And then that's a hard pink line. I was just like, whoa.
Wow.
It's It's not even like faded or nothing. It's just like, yes, like we are here. So I was just like, oh, and that was last Tuesday, and I was just like, well, that sucks. And so ever since then, I've been wearing a mask around the house, and not even like really trying to go out in the living room. Just be like, sit in my room, just sit here, watch TV and stuff. But yeah, it was just once, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because you're not boosted and your symptoms mimicked my own. It was almost not a big deal, right? I mean, you felt a little bit under the weather, but I mean, it was minor. I mean, I describe it like this, like that second shot that you got or the second and third shot for me was worse than the symptoms of this the COVID that we got. Like probably Omicron, because I think Delta, I don't know. But go ahead.
Oh, I was just, and that's all it was the nasal thing. I didn't have any cough. I didn't have a sore throat. I didn't, I wasn't feverish.
Sure.
I literally was like, well, this is stupid because like I can do stuff like I can, but I can't. It's like, no, I can get up and walk around. I could, and it's like, that's what I did. I would sit in here all day and just be like, I'm just going to go drive around.
Right. Yeah. Well, and the thing is, it's weird because I know a lot of people that have recently caught it, and I talked to different people, and like one person I know double shot and had COVID previously, a bad case of it, not a hospitalization, but not asymptomatic, right? 2 weeks of just being down, and they caught it again, and they're about 2 weeks and still feel like crap, right? Cough, just sick and miserable. But also, they have asthma, so that might not help. But then I know like a young girl, she's about maybe 21 or something, and she caught it, and she's not, I don't know if she's boosted or not, but having a hard time with it, cough, bad, etc. Right? Co-worker of mine, his whole family gets it. He's not boosted. He's tired, right? Fatigue. Sounds a little congested. Couldn't work one day, like he was just wiped out, but no cough, right? And was fine maybe day 6, right? Like just pretty much normal by day 6. And his wife and his daughter, though, both had the cough, And so it's strange. I mean, I know that there's differences in immune systems and all this kind of thing, but it seems like for some people like you and I, we got it easy, basically. I mean, we weren't completely asymptomatic. We felt something, but it was really mild. And then there's other people that I would say are like more middle of the road. Like they've got it. They feel like shit. They're kind of like a 7-day, 8-day sick, and then they're coming out of it. And then you got these other people that are like 2 weeks and just miserable. You know what I mean? And it's just interesting. It's interesting how this virus is it hits people differently. I do think in a lot of cases it probably just has to do with nutrition and things, but it's hard to pinpoint any one thing. I mean, they do say vitamin D, but it's hard to pinpoint any one thing. I just was, since this whole thing's been going on, I've read so much about it. I was just prepped. I mean, I was like, my vitamin D was good. I've been taking my zinc, my magnesium. I get my multivitamin. I'm getting my exercise. Just ready for it, in case it happens. Because I sure as fuck didn't want to go into the hospital and get a tube put in my mouth. Like I don't want that shit. No fucking way. So I'm glad it was as mild as it was. I hope I'm in a weird way. I hope I really had it. It sounds for all intents and purposes that I did, but the tests didn't come back and say it. But nobody else has anything else, that I'm around. Right. Like nobody's like, oh, I don't have COVID, but I do got a really bad cold. Like none of that's going on. So I don't know. I'm pretty sure I had it.
Well, don't say that yet because I talked to Clint the other day.
Oh yeah.
yesterday, I think. And he says, because last week his wife was sick. She had like a fever and was coughing and was horrible. And I was just like, yeah, it sounds like she got it.
Yeah.
Like she got COVID, you know?
Right.
And he's like, oh, I don't know. No.
Sounds like
And it's, and you're right. And it's like, so did you get her tested? And he's, well, no, because, you know, she just says she's sick. That's like, oh, okay. So I'm talking to him yesterday and he goes, oh yeah, man, I'll tell you what, Thursday night, out of nowhere, just kind of boom, like it hit me. Like it was just horrible. And then like Friday and Saturday, I was no good. Like I was just down for the count. Like I couldn't do anything. I was body aches and I had, you know, the headache and all this stuff. And all this, he goes, and I'm just finally now getting over it. And da da da. And I go, did you get a test? And he goes, well, no, it's just, you know, I'm just sick. so everything you just said was not true because Clint feels that he was, you know, just sick.
Yeah, he just has some illness. Yeah. I mean, you know, if it works for them like that, like they treat it like the flu or something and they get over it, fine. But boy, if it had gone the other way, it would have been a real problem for them.
Yeah.
The thing is, right, for the listeners out there, right now, we talked about this before. There's 2 antivirals right now that are out, and they're out in certain like pharmacies or whatever. I mean, I don't, you know, they're supposed to be everywhere eventually, but they're out there. And so if you test positive for COVID, you can take these and it will make it so you don't have to go to the hospital, even if you're unvaccinated. Of course, if you're unvaccinated, you're probably one of those people that don't believe in medicine or something. And you just, I don't know, you're going to hit a gong and smoke the peace pipe or something and hope for the best. But what I'm trying to say is that if you're maybe high risk, you know, you've got diabetes or some other comorbidities, you might want to call your doctor if you get a positive test result. And because they can prescribe those to you, they can also prescribe you like steroids and things that will help you have an easier time with it. So, you know, because Don and I, like I was saying, like we got lucky, you know, we had a pretty mild, but a lot of other people I know, man, that they got hammered with this thing. And it just seems to be kind of random. I mean, I'm sure at some point they're going to have something, you know what I mean? Like they're going to have some way of knowing who's more susceptible to it than others. But I don't know why, like it hits the lungs of some people and then it just didn't bother Don and I. Well, Don's is probably sterilized, but I don't know why it didn't mess with mine. Just kidding.
Yeah, right. I'm used to all kinds of things. What's weird for me is the fact that I went negative on that Thursday. And then Saturday we had people over here for Christmas. And then I went and Sophie went over to her mother's family for their Christmas thing. And then I went over there to go pick her up. And they're all like, Donnie, how's it going? And they're giving me hugs and they're all like, how you been? And everybody, you know, I get along with those people because the ex-wife's not there. And it's like, I walked out of there. And then, like I said, that Monday, I got the nasal stuff, and the Tuesday I took the test, and I was just like, well, this sucks, because now in my head I'm like, geez, I probably infected everybody. like
I mean, you might have, but what can you do? What can you do?
But as of right now, not one single person from either of these 2 households got anything.
You know, there does, I can't say with this Omicron, I can't, but there does seem to be a thing with COVID in general, where if you're not around that person for more than 15 minutes, it seems like you don't tend to catch it. I'm not just pulling that out of thin air either. Like you can look that up. It seems like you have to get a certain dose of this stuff in order to really get infected. It's not like one virus particle up your nose is going to be the main issue, but I don't know. I mean,
it just blows your mind because you hear it, because like you said, they're saying, they're like, oh, the Omicron, it's not as deadly, but it's not as bad, but it's like very contagious. And it's like, okay, so I don't feel like I got that sick. So it's like, oh, I must have got that. And then it's like, you saw, I don't know, 20 people that day.
Right.
and none of them got it. It's like, okay, well, wait a minute. That doesn't.
Well,
That
the other
doesn't
thing
line
is
up.
we had such a mild case, and your antibodies might have still been pretty high, and same with mine having the booster. And one of the things they were basically saying is that we might have kicked it so fast, like we were having an immune response, but we kicked it so quickly that you never really started to shed the virus, so you're not going to really spread it because you're not shedding it, it's not coming out your nose, or you're not breathing it out because there's not a lot of virus in you, your body wiped it out. But it's hard. Yeah. It's hard to say. Who knows? I don't know. But some people like Larry are just immune. I mean, apparently.
Well, talk about somebody who puts a lot of stuff into his
body.
Right.
He's got it all screwed up. Him and Blackie.
When you're pickled, kind of.
Yeah, and I was to be fair, I never had a positive test, but I went with my gut on it, and I didn't see anybody for two weeks. I didn't see anybody at Christmas, and I was basically 2 weeks after, just before New Year's, and but otherwise no, because I don't know, I would certainly feel bad if I infected somebody and they got really sick or potentially died over it or something, and so I just played it cool. But the thing is with this fucking thing is, like, people I know that have had it got it again, and I don't even know if they've had it, like, maybe they had it a year ago, but it's not even that long, you know what I mean? And and they're getting it, the Y-Rocks, for instance, they all had it at one point. Now, not all of them caught it again, but I know like two of them did. And it's like, I don't know. I don't want the worst one. I don't want the bad one. I got the easy one. I don't want to get the other one now. You know?
It's like I've had enough. I'm good.
Right. That's
my girlfriend's pissed. She was pissed when I told, because I was like,
she's like, no big deal for you, and she felt like shit.
Yeah, she's like, how do you feel? I'm like, I feel fine. I feel like I can, I could jump up and down. I could do jumping jacks. I could whatever. I could do this. I could do. She's like, you're an asshole. And I was like, yeah, it's not my fault. I'm like, like.
That's what I would tell people. I would tell people the same thing. I'd be like, I feel like I'm like, I got this, thing, but I could get up and tap dance right now if I knew how to tap dance. Like I totally, I don't feel, I had a little bit of, because of that head pressure, I felt a little bit of nausea, in the sense, like, if I would have moved around a lot, I might have felt a little pukey.
Yeah, maybe.
But,
dizzy.
Right.
You might
get
dizzy.
But the rest of it was real mild. And I was like, and that's why I didn't think as well that it was a cold or the flu or something. Cause it's like, I've had a cold and the flu, and you'd probably agree with me here. Like, it's worse.
Yeah.
A cold makes you, your eyes get all bunched up and your nose is swollen and you feel like garbage,
and your nose is running so much, you're blowing it all the time. Your nose hurts.
Can't sleep, it's waking you up from coughing.
I had no problem sleep. I had an appetite. I could eat.
Yep.
I could do all that.
Yeah.
Because she'd be like, well, are you tired? Not, and it's like, am I tired? You know who you're talking to? Like I could sleep anytime at any moment. Like I was like, I can go to sleep right now if you want me to.
Exactly the same. Yep.
I was like, so I can't really, or like when you asked me, you're like, did you feel any better? And I was like, I don't know if I felt worse. It's like, I can't tell you I feel better because I just feel I felt the same all the way straight through.
I know when I would go out, and because every night I walk about 2.5 miles. And I would go out on my walks even in the cold weather while this was going on. Like I didn't feel bad enough to like stay in or anything. Now listen, if I would have had anything going on with my lungs, I would have got a lot more worried, because that's the problem, right? That's where it sinks its teeth into you, and can, if it's upper respiratory, you're fine. You know what I mean? It's when it gets into the lower respiratory area that you might have a bigger problem. And so I would not have been as casual as Don and I are talking right now. You know what I mean? Like, the only reason I was this casual is because I just had a little bit of a sore throat, a little bit of a runny nose, and a little bit of a strange head congestion. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. And that head congestion was the weirdest thing of it, because like I had a little bit of ear, like, just certain things that like at a high like volume were.
I got that. Like you said last week, when I would be talking to my girlfriend and I put it on speaker,
Yes.
and all of a sudden my ear was I was just kind of like, why is this uncomfortable? Like, why
Yeah.
there's something.
Thank God you had exactly what I had. Yes, that's exactly it. It was weird, right? Like it's like, why is this is irritating me?
It's like it was like a dog whistle or something. It was just like, I can't. Like why is this like I'm listening to Sabotage or whatever, on my phone, and all of a sudden it's just like, wow, why does this hurt? Like, why is this?
Yeah, and folks, Don and I have not seen each other since probably COVID began, right? I don't know when I saw you last. Oh no, I saw you at the bar, but that was that one like months and months ago. Yeah, it was like in the summertime. So we did not give each other this at all, and our symptoms are. He didn't have a sore throat, but otherwise identical.
Right.
Crazy.
Yeah. And then, I forgot what there was something else I was going to say. Oh, and another, like with the nasal thing, like when you're sick, it's just like, it just ruins your day. But this nasal congestion, it was just like inconvenient. It was just kind of like, oh, well, I guess
I got to blow my nose again, but like it's an hour later or 2 hours later or something. And it's not even very much. It's just like, it's so bizarre. And it was, I told lots of people, I said, this is the mildest thing I've ever had. Like I know it's here, but I've never had anything this mild before. Like, so strange.
Like I'm waiting every morning. I'm waking up going like, okay, here it comes, and it's just like, no.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, every day was about the same, and it was about the same for like 6 days for me. Like I had the sore throat and the runny nose, and then the runny nose kind of just stopped around day 6, and then it was just like a little bit of a sore throat lingering. But see, the sore throat with me in general is like whenever I have a runny nose, like some of that, not to be gross or anything, but your nasal passages can leak down the back of your throat. You know what I mean? You don't feel it or anything, and that can cause irritation. And I always end up with a sore throat from that. So it's really probably was only ever in my sinuses, and the sore throat was just a side effect that had to heal, because it never became irritated enough that it caused me to get a throat tickle and a cough. If you get a throat tickle with COVID, from everything I've read, that is not the lung part of it. You know what I mean? Like that's just you coughing because you got the throat itch. But if you have a dry cough that's starting in your lungs, and then that's different. So, but I never had any of that. I didn't even have a cough, So, I feel like I dodged a bullet. I feel good about it.
Right.
In a weird way,
Just don't tell anybody because they get all mad about it. There's probably people listening right now like, these two assholes. Like, what?
I know some people are like, you probably had a cold. And I was just like, I don't know. I don't think so. Like, because I've talked not just to you, but I've talked to other people too that had similar exact same symptoms. And I was just like, I don't think so. But I can't deny that my test came out negative. But with this Omicron, from what I understand, it's the testing isn't great in terms of the timing on this. I've
heard that too.
It's a lot more half and half. But yeah, I don't know. I know some people though are going through it right now. They're having a rough time, and I imagine some more people are gonna probably pop up here soon after New Year's. And it's gotta burn itself out. Although the one thing I don't agree about is like, I follow some of these groups on Facebook, and some of them are like just like panic ridden type of thing. You know what I mean? Like they're just always looking at like it's the end of the world doomsday scenario with COVID. So they're always looking for the worst thing. And, people are like, there's going to be lockdowns again and businesses are going to close and all this sort of stuff because, everybody's going to catch this thing. And I'm thinking to myself like, well, I mean, you're only sick for a week, unless you have a bad case, and then you're back to work. So, I mean, it's like not everybody's getting sick on the same week,
Right.
and So, yeah, businesses are going to be a little bit understaffed. So, some places had to close for a day or two, but I don't think it's just going to be like a big lockdown thing because no business has any workers. Like it isn't long enough. You know what I mean? It's like you're going to be sick for like weeks on end. It's like you're sick for a week, and most people are like you and I we're like, well, I could come to work if you, no, stay home. You're ill. We don't want you to contaminate. Oh, okay. I mean, it's fine. I don't know.
Right. Well, that's the worst because I'm like, well, I could probably go out and DoorDash. But then, but in my head, I'm like, yeah, but are you spreading disease by taking people their food? You know what I mean? It's like, this sucks.
Yeah.
It's just like, I know I could. I mean, I could physically do it because it wouldn't bother me, and it would be perfect because I got nothing else to do.
Right.
And I'd be by myself. But then it was just like, yeah, but then no, don't do that.
I know you got to do the right thing. There's a lot of people out there not doing the right thing, and I know a guy that may have killed his grandmother because he didn't believe in any of it. Basically, he didn't believe it was that bad. Never got vaccinated, but when he did get sick, he still went over to see his relatives because he just felt that it wasn't that big of a thing. And the one now, the elder woman is in the hospital with COVID-induced pneumonia.
Ugh.
So it's not, when you're 96 and you got pneumonia, not so good. But maybe, who knows? I mean, these days with medicine, you never know. But yeah, that guy, I don't know, So. Anyway, I don't get into the politics.
I don't want to be that guy.
Right. I don't want to get into the politics of any of it. I just think that at least agree that when you're fucking sick, you should stay the fuck home. Like if you believe in it or not, if you think it's the flu, don't give grandma the flu. Okay, just stay home.
Don't deserve that.
Yeah, it's redonkulous. All right, could change the subject. But hey, man, I'm glad you're all right. I'm glad your girlfriend's all right too.
Yeah, she's all better now. She took a test and she's negative today.
Sweet.
So,
and Sophie never got it, right?
It's not from me, not that I know of.
Okay,
but that's the thing is she thinks she had it whatever a month or so ago, but her mom never tested her, so she just was like, "Well, you don't taste anything. You got COVID. No point in getting you tested."
Oh, she did have taste.
Yeah.
Omicron you can taste and smell, and I could taste and smell with Omicron, but with any of the other strains, as far as I'm aware, you can't. So if it's Delta or whatever.
Then my girlfriend probably got Delta because she couldn't smell or taste.
I mean, that's just not a common symptoms with Omicron. So yeah. Well, I have no idea what we got. I mean, I'm assuming we had Omicron because it was so mild, but I'm
still trying to figure out where I got it. Let alone it's like
wasn't for me.
Yeah, it's like which version did you get? Listen, I don't even know where it came from.
Right.
I don't even know who had it because the only person I've been around that's had it was my girlfriend, and I didn't get it as bad as her. So it's just no.
I mean it's true. I mean maybe it was Delta, and I had that too. Although I really do think we had. It seems like everybody that's caught it recently has had Omicron. Yeah. And the antivirals, especially because I was boosted, I should have had sterilizing immunity basically from Delta. So pretty sure we had Omicron. I don't know why Shannon lost taste and smell, but you could. I mean, if you have a bad case, yeah, okay. So anyway, it's all good. I watched the new Venom.
Yeah,
it's okay.
I didn't watch the first one, so
Carnage and everything.
Yeah.
And some jokes and stuff. It's okay. It was all right. I mean, it's not great at all, but wasn't terrible. The new Star Wars, though.
What new Star Wars?
Boba
Fett.
You gotta get the damn Disney, dude. You're all about the Boba Fett.
Yeah, I know.
Listen, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it shows you in the beginning
what happens,
how he gets out of the.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you already know what happens because you cheat. You cheat online.
I do cheat. And I do cheat. And what's funny is, I don't know if you know this or not. I don't know if you've ever watched Parks and Rec.
Vaguely. I've seen a couple episodes.
Okay. Well, there was an episode once where Patton Oswalt was on. I don't know if you've seen this article or if you read this or not. Patton Oswalt was on as some character, and there was a city council meeting, and he was trying to filibuster. She was like, I need somebody to filibuster, and he was like, I got you. And he went up there, and he starts talking about Boba Fett. Like, and this is years before this even thing. He goes, and he gives this, I guess, a narration or whatever. He's like, we pan down from the 2 moons of Tatooine to the desert floor, and from there a hand breaks out. It is the hand of the bounty hunter Boba Fett, who da da da. And everything he said is pretty much, I guess I just ruined everything for everybody else. Everything he says is like they shot the opening scene like he said. So it's just kind of like a little, it's like, hey, did they see him, did they see that back in the day and say, hey, we'll try that. So it's just kind of funny.
It's a nod to, the interesting thing is it was like, in the beginning of it, there's, I'm sure a lot of it is digital, but there was like set pieces, right? So you had the sand barge, right? And then you end up with Jawas and their big, whatever that thing's called, the sand crawler.
Yeah.
And then you get the Tusker Raiders. And everything looks, how it was, you know what I mean? Back in 1978 and shit. And so it's kind of a trip. It's kind of a trip to see it. I don't know, and how they just give you all that old school stuff, but you got to be a little bit careful with too much of that nostalgia shit. Cause, I know what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like,
you're right.
Like I know what buttons your guys are pushing and it's working, but I'm not going to let you get away with it forever. You got to give me some new stuff. Don't be lame about it. So right. I've only watched I haven't even watched the full episode. I only watched about half of it before I fell asleep. Not that it was boring. I was just tired.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to get through The Witcher season 2 and Daredevil season 3, which I never completed. Watching that.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And I hear good things about the new Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's the one goal I got right now. It's like I got to get out and go see Spider-Man.
Yeah, everybody says it's really great, which is always surprising. Not because it's just that it's just another superhero movie. You know what I mean? Like you just think people would be like, "Man, it's another superhero movie. I'm so sick of these things." And then people go and they're like, "Spider-Man's great." It's like great, really? Like it wasn't just good. It's like, "Oh, it's great," and you're just like, "Wow, all right."
But everybody and their mother loves Spider-Man.
It's true. It's true.
I mean, that's just. I mean, everybody, whether you read comic books or not, people know Batman. People know Superman because of Super Friends. People know Spider-Man because, well, guess what? When you used to get up every morning and eat your breakfast cereals, and you read the comics section in the newspaper, which I mean, I did every morning. I was like, my dad would bring in the paper and he'd be like, "Let's get to the sports section." My mom would be like, "Give me the arts and life," and I'd be like, "Give me the comics. Like, I want the strips." And that Spider-Man was in there, so it's like everybody knew.
Yeah. Well, Merryworth was in there too, dude. Not everybody likes Merryworth.
I hated Merryworth. I was like, waste. Like, what the hell is this? Like, it's all drama. Like, no, this is dumb.
You'd have to read it every day, and it never went anywhere. Nothing happened. It was just the stupidest comics.
Yeah.
Merryworth.
Spider-Man.
Well, now Spider-Man, but shit.
See, that's why I should interrupt you.
No, it was all right. I had a point about that, but it was okay. It's all right. Never mind. I'll remember it later. But I was thinking of. Oh yeah, here we go. Now I got it. Because you mentioned Batman. I saw the trailer for the new Batman. Have you seen that? With Robert Patrick and
Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, Pattinson. I'm sorry, and Zoe Kravitz is Catwoman, I guess. What's weird about it, right? The trailer looks pretty good, but the thing is that it looks like Christopher Nolan's Batman, right? The one we've been seeing previously, not the Ben Affleck one, but the Christian Bale universe, in the sense of it's dark. It's got the Hans Zimmer soundtrack pounding down. It's got a lot of just guys punching Batman. Are in his face, and Batman beating guys up and everything. It's a bit vague on storyline. And what I worry about it is, and it could be great, but it's not being done by Christopher Nolan. So it's like this other director's doing it, and you're kind of like, you've got this other dude's vision. Are you going to make it work like that? You know what I mean? Or is it your own thing? Are you going to make it your own thing? Because that doesn't always go well. Like, I don't know what to think about it. It's weird because it's very much looking like a Christopher Nolan film, but I don't think Christopher Nolan's involved in it. I could be wrong, but I don't think he is.
I don't think he is.
And so it just came off to me. I mean, I think Robert, what is his name? Pattinson
or something.
Pattinson. I think he's gotten to be a good actor. I saw him in The Lighthouse, which was a kind of a strange movie, but he did a really great job in that. And I've seen him in a couple other things that were more like almost straight to video. But he's gotten to be a really good actor since the Twilight days. Not that he was probably even bad in Twilight. I mean, you only can do so much with the material you're given, you know.
Right. Right.
I think he can be a totally adequate Batman. I think he's good. I don't have any problem with Zoe Kravitz. She's attractive and she can be Catwoman, I guess. I always get haunted by your own words on the Batman thing, is that you've seen the story of his dad dying so many times that you don't care anymore. And I feel like that whole rings true with a lot of things about Batman. Like I've been introduced to Catwoman like a lot in the history of Batman. I don't really care too much about Catwoman and what she does,
Right.
And so none of that's particularly exciting. I'm really kind of interested to see, like, what is the story here? It's not like the old days with the Burton films where, just you would have one of the notable bad guys show up. I know the Riddler's involved, but that can be either here. No, I mean, Jim Carrey was the Riddler. It wasn't a good movie. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you can just because it's the Riddler, you're not going to be like, oh, it's the Riddler. It's like, yeah, kind of been there and it didn't go so well. I don't know. I got my hopes are up a little bit about it, but I'm a little bit cautious just because of everything I just said.
Yeah. Like I saw, like, I didn't see this final trailer that they brought out, I guess this past week or whatever, where they were like, "This is the trailer." I saw the one from like 2 months ago.
Oh, okay.
It was like and even then I was watching it like you said, I'm just watching. I go, "Oh, okay. So wait, what? Like who? Where?
Right.
Like what's? I don't know what's going. Like,
what's the timeline?
He's a depressed dude. He's just putting like regular boots on, and it's just like, I'm Batman. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that. Like,
because he's just getting his ass kicked to get his ass kicked. Because that's what they did in Daredevil in a way. You know what I mean?
And that's the other thing. Is like, so they took a page out of the Daredevil. They were like, hey, look what they did with Daredevil. Daredevil's basically Batman, only blind, and has like one superpower, really.
Well, he doesn't have all the gadgets and cars and shit. He's got a little bit with the clubs, but yeah.
But other than that, he's just a regular dude who fights people.
Right.
And they were like, they could do that. Oh, we could do that with Batman. And they're like, let's go do that. And next thing you know, he put
right. No, you're right.
Put him in a dark city and
that's the concern. There's just the concern. But if you get the right writers, but DC is just it's like Warner or whatever, they greenlight shit like that. Like Larry mentioned the new Wonder Woman movie on Facebook, what a piece of crap it was. And he's not wrong. Like it was like she's gonna survive and probably make another Wonder Woman because it didn't hurt her exactly, but the direction of that film and the story of that film was awful. It was just terrible. And I don't know how those things get greenlit. It would never have happened at Marvel. You know what I mean? Like they would have been like, this script sucks. Like we're going to rewrite this and we're not going to go forward with it. But Warner just seems like they just greenlit any piece of shit that, you know, gets on their desk in order to get a movie out there for summer or whatever and make money on it. It's concerning.
Well, they're going with the Super Friends clause. If anybody was in the Super Friends, they're like, let's make a movie about them, because look what they've done. They've done Batman a million times. They've done Superman a million times. So they moved on. They're like, okay, we'll try Wonder Woman. We'll try Aquaman.
They must make enough money on the hype and the initial box office of going to see these bad movies. Not all of them are terrible, but I mean, some are worse than others. And but it must be enough. Like, they must just be like, hey, we don't make $1 billion like every Marvel film, but 500 million's pretty good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
And so maybe that works for them, I guess. But it makes me gun shy with these DC films. Like, I really wait for the reviews now, because it's like 1 out of 5 might be good or something.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I'm gun shy on half these Marvel movies where it's just like Eternals. I don't really think I care.
Right.
You know, Shang-Chi, the Master of Kung Fu. I have one issue of that in my whole collection of whatever 3,000 comic books.
Right.
And to be honest with you, I don't know how I got it. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know how I got this Master of Kung Fu. Like, I'm not interested in it. But then but Marvel, what they do is they connect everybody else into it. You know, they're like, oh, well, let's put, you know, so and so in this, or let's put so and so in this. Da, da, da. So they make it a little more interesting, or it gives the normal person something to go, oh, so and so's in this. I like that. You know. So
I got 2 questions for you. One we're going to talk about Galactus. But not yet.
Oh, yeah.
The question I have for you is, okay, we know that basically Marvel is giving Sony the rated R characters, right? Other than like Deadpool. I don't know, honestly, what Marvel is going to do with Deadpool.
Right.
They've got a winner there, and but that's a rated R character, and they could make him PG-13 in the third one or something, but Deadpool would complain about it. But let's not get into Deadpool. We've talked about him in the past.
Right.
So we got Morbius coming up, right? We've done Venom. My question is in the Marvel universe, going off of your grand knowledge of all things Marvel.
Yeah. Old school Marvel.
What other rated R characters do you see maybe Sony having license of? Like, I know they can there's characters that can kind of go either way, but like a blood-sucking vampire or Venom, the way he, you know, eats people and shit, that's got to go over that. You know, you just can't do it right unless it's kind of in the rated R. Yeah, Blade, great.
But they're already doing that. They're already doing another one of those. So
is he going to be black? Is he going to be a black vampire?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding, because Hollywood keeps mixing it up. He might be Chinese or something this time.
No, it's what's his name? The guy from the Green Book, Masala.
Is it really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's a score. Like, that guy's a great actor,
right?
I mean, geez, to be Blade. I mean, I like Wesley Snipes and everything, but I don't think Wesley Snipes ever won an Oscar or anything. You know?
No.
Jeez.
No.
All right.
He just won court cases.
Yeah.
I mean, other than that, there's nothing Sony, like, because Sony only has the Spider-Man universe, so it's only characters around Spider-Man, and Spider-Man's always been
they've been negotiating, so they might because they gotta
terribly,
but it's the you know, we've talked about this, but it's the stupidest thing, because like, the mascot of Marvel is Spider-Man, and Sony has it. You know what I mean? So like, Sony can take, you know, they can be like, we'll let you have Spider-Man for a little while, but we want this character. And I'm just wondering, you know, like, take the Reavers, for instance, from the X-Men, right? Those guys, like that one guy, like, had like tentacles that came out and went inside your brain and shit. Those kinds of guys, like, are not going to be in the Disney universe. Like, they crucified Wolverine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not going to work on, regular things. Disney would love Jubilee. Like they would be like, we are all about Jubilee. Jubilee is a great character for us. But, we are this Wolverine with the claws and the bad attitude.
Yeah. I don't know.
He's
always smoking cigars and saying bad words.
Right. We feel like he is not a good fit for our new X-Men team. But Angel's wonderful. He's got wings. No, listen, they always pull it out. I'm just making fun. Marvel always does a great job most of the time. But I'm just thinking like there are some characters in the Marvel unit, especially villains and things that are they're too R to be on Disney. And I don't know, man.
Wolverine could be one.
You think he's a big property though. I don't know if they would want to trade him.
But he would be that his character would be fit for an R-rated movie.
I think so. I totally agree with you.
Yeah. Him and Sabretooth and
right.
You know what I mean?
You gotta use those claws. I mean, they did in Logan. But I mean, you can't just keep wounding. I mean, we've talked about it, but nobody wants to see that, Yeah. I want to listen, even with the X-Men in general, I don't like Cyclops. We've been over this, but I want him to use his laser optics to blast a hole through somebody. You know what I mean? I don't want to see him knock somebody over with his eye blasts like they did on the comic or the cartoon. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't have like a push beam.
Yeah, right.
They always, would talk about Havoc in the comic books, and they would always be like, he has the power of the sun, like blasting out of him and stuff. You never really see him melt anybody, but we're adults. You kind of want that though, I know it's super violent and everything, but it would make more, it would, because this goes back to what you said last week. It would make more sense because if you saw Cyclops put a hole in a guy or Wolverine cut some guy's fucking arms off, then you would be like, fuck these mutants. You know what I mean? You'd be like, down with the mutants. You would get people together and be like, we got to register these guys. These guys are dangerous. But if they're the mutants that just like knock people over or give them a headache with their psychic powers or whatever,
it costs sparkly rainbows.
Right. Have some fireworks. Yeah, light and stuff, or I'm lucky. Like, that shit is tired. Like, then you are just dealing with things like the Eternals or whatever. Like, it's boring. And so I'm with you. I think maybe that's one of the reasons Marvel hasn't done very much with the X-Men yet, is they don't know what they're doing with it. Because I just think, like, I think maybe that was part of the problem that Singer's X-Men he was having with them too, is just that you couldn't make it into a big bloodbath. You know what I mean?
Right.
It would totally work if they did. I mean, it would be a lot better. I don't know. It would be too violent, I guess. But if you've got a guy with razor claws, he's got to cut people. It's so stupid.
He's having a rage. He's like in a rage. He's like, I got an animal rage and I can't control myself. And he's like, uh-oh. And then he goes and fights these people. He's like, don't worry. I put my blades only where I could hurt them. I didn't hit any vital organs or anything like that. Like, what are you, like, studying their body while you're fighting? Like, okay, where can I put this where I could just maim them? Like
the Hulk is a great example too. Here's this mad green creature that runs around but somehow doesn't really hurt anybody. Like he just smashes cars and buses and wrecks buildings and shit. Could just hit you and knock your fucking head right off your body, but he doesn't, and that's why I think the Hulk movies never really worked, besides the bad script writing. But it was just, he's just throwing tanks around like toys and stuff, and it's like the menace is just not as, because as soon as a kid or anybody watching it goes, oh, he doesn't hurt people, well then there's really no threat. He's just an insurance claim.
Exactly.
You're not even worried about the guy. So I just think like some of this stuff would be a lot better if it was rated R. I'm not saying the Hulk has to go out into the streets and murder a bunch of people, but I'm just saying, like, if you're fighting the bad guys, like, cut some arms off or something, like
Yeah.
introduce them to the Tear. Like the X-Men, like, yeah, like if those guys really existed in real life and they were, villains and stuff like that, like Magneto wouldn't be taking all of the people's guns and making them fall down like they did in the Bryan Singer films. You know what I mean? He'd make them turn the guns on themselves and blast themselves in the head, or throw them over a cliff or something, or just shoot ball bearings through them and kill them. And there's a little bit of that, but you know what I'm saying? Like the threat has to be there.
Like the Purple Man and Jessica Jones.
Right. Jessica Jones was interesting because, everybody is mainly human, including Jessica Jones. She just has some extraordinary powers that she doesn't like to use. But the Purple Man, her ex-boyfriend, when he speaks, has the ability to control what you do. It's like mind control. And if you really think about it, like, if that existed, how do you protect yourself from that? I mean, stay away from them. But if you can't, or they just catch you somewhere, it's not like you've got a superpower that's going to protect you from somebody that can tell you to walk in front of a bus or something.
Right.
It was a really interesting,
scary.
Yeah.
It was like,
right.
You're watching that show. You're like, I don't know what's going to happen because I don't know if this guy, you know what I mean? I mean, just even from the
he
first
was a
episode,
wild card. Right.
Yeah. And it's like, he doesn't have to sit there and like hypnotize you or nothing. He's not, listen to me or nothing. He'd just be like, I want you to shoot yourself in the head.
Yes.
And the person would just be like, what? You could tell like the people are like, I don't want to do this, but I have no choice.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was like the right way to do it. Yeah. It's a good point. The Netflix shows showed like the right balance, I think. Daredevil had the right level of violence to be a sort of R-rated show. Yeah. Jessica Jones, it dealt with, like, every episode of Jessica Jones deals with some subject of abuse, which is also kind of like part of the narrative of that show, which made, at least the first season, which made it really interesting because they were trying to cover like this whole abuse angle. It wasn't just about a superhero and her being a PI and being an alcoholic and sleeping with bartenders and shit. It was about like this whole, this underlying thing about abuse. Her clients were being abused, she was being abused, her sister got abused, and all these different things. And it was really well written, but not everybody got it. Luke Cage and the other, Iron Fist, there wasn't anything like that. Although if you ever watch Luke Cage, folks, if you watch like the first 3 episodes of the first season, with Cottonmouth as the bad guy, and then when Cottonmouth gets taken out, just stop there, and you'll walk away being like, Luke Cage was great. And and if I talked to you, I'd be like, what? And I'd be like, how many episodes did you watch? And you'd be like those first 3, and I'd be like, oh yeah, that was great. That was great. Those are 3 great episodes, or whatever it was.
I think he made it like 6.
You think so? Yeah.
I think he made it like halfway.
Yeah. Well, whatever it is, like that storyline, like, because he's a great actor, but also that little bit of storyline right there was actually good. Then it ges dumb. It just gets dumb. Yeah. And
that happens, and you're watching it. You're just like, so wait a minute. Now what?
Right.
I thought he was the bad guy.
Right. It's like they stopped and restarted the thing again, but with a more ridiculous bad guy. It just wasn't good. Anyway. All right. So let's finish on Galactus.
Okay.
If the Marvel Universe brings about Galactus, okay, this is what I was thinking. Because I was trying to think, like, you were like, they got to make him big and pink and giant and everything in space. But what I'm thinking is more along the lines of, like, how they do some things where he's probably, like, a regular dude inside, like, a big ship. And then he's having a conversation with people, and he's going to say something like, well, do you want to see my real form? Should I be like this? And then they'd show, like, him standing there in space, like, gigantic, and would that make you happy or something? And then he would revert back to being a normal sized dude again. Because, I mean, if you were a big dude, like, why does he need feet? He's in space. He's gonna walk around. He's floating. Like, we didn't evolve into like looking like a humanoid.
He has to. He comes from a world of
wear eyes and shit.
Comes from a very large planet of very large people. I have no idea where he came from or not, but
no, he's been around since the beginning of time or something.
Yeah,
he's one of these elder things.
He's got to have feet because he's got to stand on the planet to build his machine to suck all the energy out of it.
I thought the thing just put a bunch of tentacles down from space and grabbed onto it, and he was up in. Jesus! It doesn't matter how the machine works.
Ways. Yeah, there's different ways for him to do it. I guess I don't know.
It doesn't work. I mean, you know what? If you do watch the Eternals, this is something that I thought was just kind of interesting in the theater, is that when they were talking to one of the Celestials, because whatever, occasionally they would talk to the Celestial. They would be on the screen and you would just see like the head of the Celestial, and the person was like super tiny on the screen, on the movie screen. So if you ever watch it on a regular television, you might not even see the actor. They're just going to be like a spot on your TV. They're going to be really tiny. And then, you're going to see part of a Celestial's head. And I think that would be the main problem with Galactus. Like the comic books do it over distance, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like, I don't know, because they're in space. There's a vacuum. Like, how are they even talking to each other? It doesn't make any damn sense.
Well, because they all have communicators now. They all have things in their ears.
I like the idea of him just being like a giant machine or something, and then it's just eating planets. But it has the power. It has the ability to apply powers. I see. The thing is I think the Celestials are still too weird for people. I don't think that was a good introduction to a lot of the cosmic things that are going on in the Marvel comics. But Galactus is good in this. Not a good guy, but he's a good introduction because he is really powerful and he can bestow powers because he makes the Silver Surfer, who's also pretty tough, right? So he can go ahead.
He doesn't give people powers.
He gives them the power cosmic. He makes him into a herald.
No.
Yes.
He makes him his herald, but Silver Surfer already had his stuff.
No, he was a regular guy. He was a regular dude until he met, and then he gave him those powers. We could look this up.
Why doesn't he take them away then?
I think he can. I think he has, but not completely. I think he has punished Silver Surfer in that way before, and then he has to make another deal with him. But I don't know the whole. I think it was more like they took away the power cosmic. I think he still had his board, and he was still silver.
If the Silver Surfer doesn't have his powers, can he still surf?
Right. I mean, I do admit that the Silver Surfer is freaking ridiculous in the sense of, if he actually referred to himself as a surfer, but but he's a much beloved character, so I'm sure he's going to come. But I mean, obviously, the Fantastic Four would run into him first, and I think they even have in the comic books. I think they created Galactus. But the thing is that Galactus is a great introduction because he's not quite as omnipotent as a lot of these other living tribunals and Mistress Good and Mr. Evil. I don't know, Lady Death, and I don't know what they're going to do with all that. But Galactus is at least, and the other thing is like Galactus is like a good way to have somebody that's tougher than everybody else. He's not always that way, but what I'm saying is like, when a great evil comes to the universe, a lot of times in the comic book, there's these appeals to Galactus. Galactus, help us. You know what I mean? Yeah. And Galactus is very neutral. He doesn't care about anything other than eating. So you have to make a deal with him, and he doesn't even most of the time go with the deal that you're trying to make. But that's a great way of showing that this threat is real, and it's such a bad threat that Galactus has to get, you need Galactus, but he's not going to help you. I mean, that would be dumb if he did. but you need his help because that's the level of danger. You know what I mean? Like you can make a level of danger based off of the desire to have Galactus help you. Because right now it's just a little bit too. I really feel like Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, right now is just way too powerful, and I'm interested to see how they handle this in the movies. But she could almost have fought Thanos by herself. I mean, she never really got a bruise or anything, and I mean, she destroyed his entire ship, and she's just got a lot of raw energy, you know, and she's not that powerful. I mean, she is, but comparative to because there's some other heroes out there that are even more powerful and more ridiculous, you know. Yeah. And if they want to bring those people out, it's gonna be really interesting. But go ahead.
Real quick, I was gonna say that's the thing about Galactus. Like you're saying, he's this big, huge dude. He's from space and he like eats planets and he like does all this stuff, you know. But then if you look back at the history, nobody's ever beaten him. They've all just made deals with him. They've all just been like,
right. Other than Thanos, but yes.
You know, it's like it's just like nobody ever like. You always see people like, okay, we're going to have to attack him, and then like they attack him, but they don't even touch him.
No, I know. He just puts his hand up. They like hit his hand with laser blasts and stuff.
Yeah,
he's just annoyed. I think more than anything, he's just like,
it's just funny. It's like nobody ever beats him. You gotta just trick him. And then you're like, hey, you see that planet out there? You should go try that one instead.
Yeah, like he's like he's really dumb or something. Yeah, he falls for it. Like, does he know? Is he in on it? You know?
Yeah,
that's hilarious. It's true. Yeah,
that's the only way they would beat him. If they bring him into the movies, that's when they'll bring Reed Richards in, and he'll just be like, "Well, you know, Galactus, I'm smarter than you." So,
I don't, whatever. You know, I have not. We're out of time, but I just wanted to, since you brought up Reed Richards really quick, I have not liked the way they do him in the previous movies. Like, he's always doing something wacky with this whole like schmoosh, you know, the arms thing, but it's always like it never in the films. It never seemed to work like it did in the comics. Like, he was constantly turning himself into a trampoline or, you know, moving his arms all the way around something to grab something, etc. Like, they used these effects very sparingly. And I think now that computer processing is everything, like, they really need to amp that up a little bit to make it more, you know, it's a little bit weird, but, you know, to make it more, truer to the comics, I think, because he's not that interesting. And I mean, you got the girl that turns herself invisible. It's not that great. Ben Grimm's not the Hulk. He's not that interesting. Johnny Storm is kind of cool, but not really. I don't have a big love for the Fantastic Four, if anybody can tell. But they do have a big history, and I think, like, if you're going to do it right, you got to make sure the characters are right. And I just don't think they ever did him. You know, he's super smart, and you know, but he has this like really kind of, you know, he could turn into anything, really. I mean, it was, you know, what was that other guy called? Plastic Man?
Plastic Man? DC's version. Plastic Man.
He had that like cartoon or something on TV.
Yeah. He had a kid. He had a plastic kid.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Plastic Man. Exactly. It's the same thing, but Reed Richards was always like really long. Like, he was always like really stretching all over the place. They loved to draw him. You know, you could tell the artist just always liked to make him doing something weird and unusual and stuff. And it was always in that way. But I don't know. I don't know. It'll like, be interesting to see what happens.
In the comics, it looks cool. Like, where he because we tied him to this chair, and then he makes his finger go like really long. Then it goes out the door, down the hall, and comes into another room, and it's like pushes a button and gets him out of it. But like, if you show that in a real live movie, you're just like, oh my God, that's gross. Because you just see like his finger going, expanding and just getting longer. You're just like,
Yeah. You know, you're right. They did it in the other ones, but I don't know. I was always watching Jessica Alba. All right. Anyway, we're done. We'll be back next week, folks, with more. Hopefully Donnie and I are both healthy at that point. And thanks for listening. See you next time.
Peace.
You've been listening to Oblast with Don and Kevin. If you'd like to write into the show, send an email to oblast@vgn.us. That is VGN as in video game news. And be sure to check out our Patreon page, which is at patreon.com/VGN, where you can get all of our shows, our videos, and some musings. Be sure to tune in each week for new episodes on our Patreon page or every other week on the public RSS feed that you're subscribed to now. Thanks for listening, and good night.
Peace.